Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. And my guest today is possibility coach, author, and transformational speaker, Victoria Rader. She empowers coaches, entrepreneurs, and spiritual seekers to manifest miracles by uncovering and solving underlying hidden problems and patterns with innovative possibilities, reigniting passion, and expanding peace, purpose, and prosperity. She's an 8 times internationally best-selling author who is globally recognized along with Brene Brown, Richard Branson, and others for creative and innovative ideas, adaptability in business, and contribution to sustainability and mental health projects with the CREA Global Award by Brainz Magazine. So welcome, Victoria, and thank you so much for taking the time to be on my show today.
Claudia, thank you so much for having me. I'm very much looking forward to our conversation.
As am I. I'm really looking forward to such an interesting conversation. Now, I want to start in a kind of with a difficult one. Now, I read that you were born in Ukraine, and I was just wondering, it must have been so hard for you to see what's going on over there. How have you been holding up?
You know, Claudia, I think this is a phenomenal question, because I think instead of just kind of fluffing and puffing and crying and snotting, which I've done all of it, I actually will tell you exactly how I'm processing it through the process that I'm then empowering my coaches. I think, I haven't done it in this framework, but I think it'll be amazing. So right from starters, when the war first started, a couple of months into it, I got my first call. I got my first call of many of having lost somebody I care for.
Oh my goodness.
And somebody who died a civilian as a toy for an entertainment of, I call them possessed, mindless beings at that point, because they were not human, right? They were not human at the point of that. And so the shock, of course, sets in, and the complete sense of powerlessness, and I just want to make parallels, because this is kind of a big thing, but we can be powerless by little things, so felt completely powerless. What does it mean? When things happen to us that we feel helpless about, we feel powerless. And I think it's very important to acknowledge it at that moment and validate it and say, why is this happening? Maybe wrong question for mindset, but right question for that moment. I don't know why it's happening. It shouldn't be happening. So hence, I feel completely powerless. So then the next step that I've taken was, of course, grieving, just grieving over the loss, very important. And then asking myself, while this is happening, I can't be there. I know the list of all these things I can't do. What is it that I can do? And an amazing, beautiful alignment just prior to that, I felt very prompted, launching like a positive clothing line. And we haven't produced anything with it. But all of a sudden it became Free Me Ukraine clothing line. And all the profits from that went to support, Ukrainians, children mostly, orphanages, wounded soldiers. And then the book that came out became another profit gathering and contributing factor. And so all of a sudden, while I couldn't directly impact the situation, I no longer felt powerless. That's number one. I felt empowered to do something. But the second step was I developed a traumatic response, a real PTSD, post-traumatic response to phone ringing. I muted my phone so I wouldn't hear the phone call, because what if What if the call coming in is another loss? So everything I've done, I had to practice. I had to tap using, EFT, and we have our own free EFT, tapping the phone ring. And then I had to listen to our little meditation, 3-minute meditation, receiving good news, and rewire. I love the name of your podcast, Wired for Success. Rewire my brain, literally, that I'm expecting good news, And so it's been very raw, very vulnerable. And maybe more than ever before, I am passionate and committed to say what I am doing is working, because it is working for me at the hardest time, I believe, in my life.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. I love how you can see, how you can find that positivity and turn things around so you don't feel helpless. I think that is so important. And it's something I noticed as well. So when the first refugees arrived over here, and it was really hard, and it was really hard to see, and it was something really hard to explain to my kids, because they were 7 and 8 at the time, or 6 and 7, and they didn't understand what was going on, and they just heard all those frightening news. And we sat down and we were just brainstorming and thinking about what can we do? We can't go there, we can't support them over there, but what can we do over here right now to help and support them? So we came up with the idea to just bake muffins and sell the muffins, and then just donate the money that we received for the muffins. So we donated that, and it made us feel less helpless. So I totally understand where you're coming from. And I thought it was so heartbreaking to hear about all the devastation that was happening over there. But there was also something that really gave me hope. For instance, my daughter's best friends at school are 2 Ukrainian girls. They're called Milana and Maharita. And they came over as refugees, and they don't speak German. And my little one doesn't speak Ukrainian, but somehow they manage, they manage with hands and feet and with wide open hearts. And they don't care about the differences. They just focus on what connects them. And that is so lovely to see.
Oh, it's beautiful, and there wouldn't be a Ukrainian story being made without a global love support, both spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally. This is not a Ukrainian story. This is a global story. And I think it's a global story that says we choose peace. We choose empowerment. We choose communication. It's played on the Ukrainian land, but I do believe it is a global story that is being played on the Ukrainian land, and it's that whole thing is from what is happening to me, how is it happening for me? And look how it is happening for the whole world. For Ukrainians, it has resurrected the national pride and conviction and dedication to freedom, but it has done the same for every human being who is supporting the cause. We have recommitted to freedom, and I think with global commitment to freedom, this too shall pass, and peace will be restored.
Yes, absolutely. Now, you're a possibility coach. So what gives you hope, and what are the possibilities that you see for the future of your birth country?
I think it is infinite. I believe that once the national psyche is shifted to there is nothing more important than true freedom, that concept will last for generations and it will become contagious. It is contagious. You can see the echo of that, where it goes from the maybe outside invitation to reawaken freedom to the very much more important long-term asking yourself, am I truly free? Is it possible for me to be free? And what does it mean? I think it's inviting all of us to consider the possibility of infinite freedom, to be who we've come to be as each individual, unique, beautiful puzzle of of humanity, and to redefine our role as a contributing piece to that puzzle. I think it's beautiful. And I do believe possibilities of reawakening to this freedom are infinite as a result of what is happening.
I love that. But maybe I should take a step back and ask, what is a possibility coach? And how did you become one? What did your personal path of empowerment look like?
This is another great fun question for me to answer, because it is a funky, very genuine, authentic answer. About a couple of years ago, up till that point, all the business I've done was 100% by referral, and all of a sudden I started being invited to bigger platforms, and there's become more of a global presence, global movement. And my brand coach sat me down and, she said, listen, you have to have some kind of a title. Victoria Rader is fine, but you have to be something. We have to brand you as something. I said, okay, this is kind of interesting. So I literally went to my Facebook group and I emailed my clients and I said, hey guys, I need your help. For years that you've been referring me, what do you tell people that I do? I need to brand myself. And I know I help people, and I'm told people helper is not a good brand. And then it was a very both humbling and emotional period of my life as the answers came in. I get emotional talking about it because all of a sudden I would get these stories saying, I was 100,000 in debt, and I didn't think it was possible for me to have a business. I couldn't leave my home, and I didn't think it was possible to get out of debt. And now I'm here, I'm thriving, and I have 2 businesses and not one. I didn't think it was possible to overcome cancer, and now I'm 7 years in remission. And I sat there, and the common theme was, I didn't think it was possible, ... for me. No. And that is how Possibility Coach was born. I trademarked it, was guided to trademark it. And so now the joke is I'm the Possibility Coach.
Oh.
And the trademark has been approved, and it's being posted as we speak, actually. And so you will start seeing little R behind it as registered trademark. But the amazing thing for me in all of that was that this path of possibility, I give it completely to my clients, because when I got that response, I turned back and I said, okay, what is the path of possibility? How was it walked? Because so many of us, myself included, become unconsciously competent when things are happening for us and we're not sure why or how. And so I started re-engineering backwards. And to answer your question, what is that empowerment path, possibility? It's become first empowering one to seek and find deep inner peace, which I have come to believe is the presence of divine love. However spiritual, non-spiritual you are, if you believe there's something greater than you are, and that something greater is supportive of you, not destructive of you. I call it God's love, great overall designer, but whatever the language of knowing you are part of some loving universe, it is not an adversarial environment. The more you understand that you can be loved and supported, the more peaceful you feel inside. Once that peace settles in, and you cannot skip this step, because otherwise the success is not worth it, because it guts you out of the most important thing, which is peace of mind. So from that peace, comes a desire to serve. You become passionate about life because you're peaceful. So passion for life is reborn. You're serving. And by serving, I don't mean greater human causes. I mean, you all of a sudden feeling peaceful. You look at your kid not doing the dishes, and instead of being frustrated, you come and take them by their hand and you go do them together because you have peace. And you are serving through peace. And then when the difficult client calls, yes, it triggers you for the moment, but you now know what peace feels like. You restore peace before getting back with them. So you start serving through peace and passion. And through that, for some of us throughout the years, your aspect of purpose becomes clear. So many people are seeking purpose and they lose peace. Instead of finding peace and serving those in your immediate environment, meeting their needs in the best way you can with your talents, and then your purpose becomes more and more clear. And once you lock into that purpose, which is what brings you most joy through serving those around you while using and maximizing all your talents, that we all have the same purpose, live a life fully. Now, the aspect of purpose, my purpose is what brings me most passion and joy while growing me exponentially. Once you lock into that, prosperity follows, money comes.
Mhm.
And it takes patience, right? It takes patience and dedication to walk this path, but it's very fulfilling.
Oh, absolutely. And I like how you describe your own past, because I think it illustrates something that I was just thinking about today, which is like you can't read the label from inside the jar, right? You oftentimes don't see your own genius, and you need the people around you to really say, this is your strength, this is your genius, this is what you're really, really good at. Because to yourself, it feels like it's completely normal what I do. It's just who I am, right? So you don't see it as something special. You need those people around you that you serve to really understand this purpose that you just described. So I love that.
Well, they say self-made millionaire, and I'll laugh and say, really? How can you make $1, let alone million, without selling a product to someone? And there's no such a thing. It's non-existent. Self-made disaster all day long, but self-made millionaire, none of us succeed without all of us.
So true. Now, how would you define the difference between spirituality and self-development? Do you see those two as separate things or just as different parts on a spectrum?
I've come to believe that most of conflict in human relationship comes from linguistics and arguing about how we define words versus the feeling that those words represent. So I think, and it's to me it's almost like humorous because I don't know what apple in German is, but in English it's apple, in Ukrainian it's яблоко, in Spanish it's manzana. So there wouldn't be three of us sitting and arguing how to call an apple. We understand it's a different thing. So this is what I always say. To me, spirituality is the connection to the source through which you're created. I believe that source to be one thing. You might believe that source to be something else. Connection to the origin of who you are and developing to express all that you've come to be is a path of development. So to me, it's a spiritual path. To somebody else, it might be defined as a different path. When you look at all of our products, we have little M, big E. So it's Prosper Me book, Miracle Me journal, Empower-Me app. And the reason it's little M, big E is because for me, the personal development is all about finding, healing, and growing your scared part of you, into being and living as your sacred me. And how do I define those, right? When we look at who we are, we're mortal matter. We know there is mortal matter in us. You can't argue it. That manifests materially. As long as I have this mortal matter, it will need to eat food. So I'm going to manifest material food for it, and I will need money for it. But I'm also eternal energy. We know it's quantum physics. It's not woo-woo, right? We are energy that is forever expanding. So it's an eternal. We now know that the life of an atom is 10 to quadrillion times longer than the life of the known universe. We know that the energy through which the universe is created is exponentially, the mind cannot wrap around itself longer than this universe has been. And I would call it pretty close to eternity, right? So I am mortal and I'm eternal. I am matter and I'm energy. I am manifesting, but I'm also expanding. And I'm material, but I'm also essential. To me, every day of my life, personal development is surrendering the little M that is scared, that is there, to the big E. That is powerful, that is sacred. A client came to me, Claudia, and said, I'm struggling with commitment years ago. And I was going to give an answer of, all the practical steps to commit. And all of a sudden I heard myself say, oh, no, all of us are very committed. You're very committed to your scared part. All you need to do is recommit to your sacred. You look at scared and sacred, same letters in English. We just move letter C. I now call it the C of commitment. So there you have it, a long-winded answer of the personal development as I see it, shifting from scared to sacred.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I love the idea of surrendering to love, but what does that actually look like? So can you tell us a little more about this concept of just surrendering to love? How do we do it?
Yes. Love is, as I see it, life originating vibrant emotion. That's what love is for me. It's not just passionate, right? I'm talking of love as the energy through which life is created. So it's very easy. When a parent hits a child and says, I do it because I love you, no, I do it because I'm wounded. A lot of us have gone through experiences in life when somebody said, I love you, and did things that were not loving. So when we look at love as energy that restores life, then it's very easy. If I'm adding to life, if you're making those muffins with your girls, that's the very loving act, because you're pouring energy that will sustain life physically, emotionally. It's beautiful. It's loving. So to me, it's an indicator. So how do I surrender to love? I ask myself, what is the easiest way I can sustain life? My life, this plant's life, this planet's life, this client's life. Because if I find a way to encourage and sustain life, I am being loving. I'm surrendering to love. Very practical, very simple. Now, the word surrender was a huge trigger, right? I kind of non-jokingly joke now that you can see how well Ukrainians surrender. It's not a genetic capacity. We do not surrender well. So, all of a sudden, this huge concept of surrender. And I was in my special place in a temple, and I'm having this internal conversation saying, I get it. I'm guided to know that it's important to surrender to the concept of being loving always. But I don't like the word surrender. I'm not getting it. I'm triggered by it. And I have this feeling. I'm sitting on the bench, and I have this, I call it the still small voice, the invitation from within. You're sitting on the bench now. Lift up your feet. I'm like, okay, I'm already weird. A little more weird is not going to hurt anything. So I'll lift up my feet. I'm sitting on the bench, and all of a sudden that inner peace comes in, and I feel this is surrender. You're surrendering your weight to be carried by the bench. When we surrender to love, when we surrender to something greater, we surrender our heavy burdens to be carried for us in a way that we don't control. It's that concept of faith. And so very often when we are crushed by our burdens, instead of trying to lift them up because they're too heavy, if we surrender to love and say, how can I improve someone's life? How can I increase life's quality for someone else? As we are in the act of loving, we are simultaneously surrendering our heavy burdens, and they do get lifted. So that's just a beautiful process.
That's amazing. That's also something I was just thinking about today, that oftentimes when we face adversity and we face these struggles, we build up this inner resistance, right? So resistance is the theme that comes up for me over and over again. And it's this, like, we are tensing up, we are trying to resist, we are trying to get our way. And this is where this concept of surrendering and just surrendering to love, surrendering to the process comes in again. It helps to get out of this tense mode, but it's really tough some days. So I often have to just be aware of the fact that I still have these moments where I feel stressed and tense, and that I have to consciously get out of them. So I have to break the pattern and then breathe again and just stretch a little bit, maybe to be able to surrender again, if that makes sense.
I love the word that you used, resistance, because the story I often shares, when I was a little kid, growing up in the Soviet Union, I was about 5, and I was playing with my doll, and I wanted to have a hanger for her dress. So I pulled out a metal pin out of my hair, and I plugged it into the wall socket. And you're in Germany, so you know the electricity is twice what it is in the US. Now, gratefully, I did not get electrocuted or killed because the resistance in the fuses blew the fuses out. And so there are two very powerful parallels there. The first one is resistance saves our life. It's a survival mechanism. It's a survival mechanism that is built in us. And two, when you look at any home or any building, the amount of electrical power coming to it is equal to all of the devices. But the amount of light that is coming out is very different. It's determined by the resistance of the device, the capacity of the device. The resistance lowers the light that the device is bringing in. So the 100-watt light bulb is brilliant, and the little teeny tiny refrigerator light bulb is so dim. So we're wired, back to wiring, we're wired the same way. We are wired to be brilliant, divine, powerful, light beings. But our upbringing, our genetics, the fears around us, the expectations of others put resistance to this power that is offered to us. And the more we resist this power, the more resistant blocks we build. So in a way, surrendering is stepping into that power and letting go of the blocks. There are many, many, many ways to do it. You've mentioned breathing patterns. Amazing. Breathe in and breathe out longer. Just a simple thing like that. When you breathe in, breathe out longer. We do free me EFT tapping technique. Just tapping without even knowing what it is and saying, you've asked what we're doing. We're recording the tapping technique for our app right now. But tapping, this feeling, don't even name it. And then when you breathe in, you surrendered the block and there's more flow, more power, more energy.
Oh, yeah, that was a lovely comparison, because that was exactly what I was feeling as well. That surrender and resistance are like two opposite signs, and you just have to go with the flow. Do you have any more tips, practical tips for people who want to turn their passion into a profitable and purposeful business and manifest their dream life?
Yes, it's all in the questions you ask. I've done quite a few keynotes on ChatGPT and how it's a spiritual tool. And I believe that. But it's all in the questions that you ask. What do I mean by that? Our brain is wired to, and our subconscious mind is wired to answer exactly what it is asked. So if you're asking a question that is specific, that is intentional, and if you ask it before you go to bed over and over and over again, and you surrender it to the power of your subconscious mind, miracles start happening. So if you ask the question exactly as Claudia posed at you before you go to bed, you're going to say, okay, what is the one thing tomorrow that I can do that will increase my profitability exponentially by growing my talents and while impacting and improving humanity? One thing. I'm going to wake up to that one thing. Go to bed. You go to sleep. And I want you to be drifting away with an image of you sitting there going like, oh my gosh, this was that easy? This is what I was supposed to do. Now you don't know what that is yet. But you're falling asleep with a feeling of gratitude for having discovered an insight. As you fall asleep with a smile on your face, why is it so important? For the first 4 hours of your sleep, your subconscious mind is actively rewiring your mind to support the last images and thoughts of your active brain. So if you're going to bed agonizing about every single possible problem in your business, you're going to wake up to find out 20 more problems. And we all know that you've lived this. You go like, oh my gosh, totally. I went to bed with 3 problems. I woke up with 10. I went to bed with 10 and the business was on fire. Well, it's because
multiply.
Right? You will multiply. So if we're saying what is the one most profitable thing, the decision I am to make, action I am to take tomorrow that grows my talents infinitely while serving humanity to impact and improve it, right? You go one thing and you see yourself, you fall asleep. Your brain now is rewiring to, oh my gosh, I need to find this one thing and I better make her joyful. I mean, I better make her happy. This is my plan. I promise you, if you put just this one simple, yes, tedious, but simple and yet empowering discipline into your life, like many of my clients, you will be sending me a message saying, really? This was it? Why didn't anybody tell me about this before? So now you're in the know.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I would love to add just one more tip to that. So the first thing in the morning when you wake up, maybe you want to write it down, because if you had the insight, and it can be gone in a second. So write it down. And then also set an intention for the day. Because that, again, that's brain priming. You're setting yourself up for success. You're seeing yourself succeed. And then you're going to make it happen. Your brain will figure out a way to make it happen. It always looks for this alignment. So if you tell it what you're looking for, it will find a way.
Yes.
So last but not least, where can all the people that would like to connect with you find you online?
Well, our site is U2Shine, YU2Shine.com. And even though I'm kind of booked for clients, I do free 15-minute tune-up sessions for those that are new to our family, just to kind of give an overlook of what we offer. But right now, we have two wonderful, absolutely free offers. And I tell people, you better. If you're impatient, go to moneyquiz.me. And moneyquiz.me is going to give you your driving emotion in life and the three universal laws that driving emotion is being blocked by in terms of prosperity and profitability. So moneyquiz.me, quick, 10 minutes, you're happy. If you are a deep spiritual seeker, if you're somebody who wants to know all the whys and whats and have a phenomenal transformation, go to manifestmiracles.me, and it's an absolutely free 2-hour masterclass that is rewiring your brain in depth with exercises to manifest miracles. So you pick a side, choose a side.
Choose your own adventure, right?
I like that, your own adventure.
Perfect. Victoria, thank you so much for sharing your tips and wisdom with us today. You're amazing, and it's been such an honor having you on the show.
Claudia, thank you so much. Thank you for creating this empowering space.
Absolutely. Take care and talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. That's a fantastic, easy, and zero-cost way to help the show grow. Just use the link in the show notes and make my day. If you'd like to take it one step further, you can now join my inner circle and become an official supporter of the Wired for Success podcast. Supporting the show is super simple and will only take about 30 seconds. Basically, it works like any other paid subscription. All you have to do is to go to glow.fm/wiredforsuccess podcast, pay $5 per month or as much or as little as you like, and choose the link of the podcast player you want to use. You can listen anywhere in any app. So for less than the price of 1 to 2 fancy coffees per month, you can really make a difference and help me keep this show awesome. For more tips and info, check out my website at wiredforsuccess.solutions. Thanks a ton and talk to you soon.